Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about a simple but really powerful practice that can be the perfect antidote to one of our most painful emotions, shame. So, let's dive right in.
So, get this. Our story starts with a bit of a mystery. We have a clinical psychologist, an expert on anxiety, who for 2 whole decades couldn't fix himself. It raises a pretty big question, right? What do you do when all the expert tools just don't work?
You have to imagine, for Dr. Germer, this wasn't just a personal thing. It was a full-blown professional crisis. I mean, how can you help other people with a problem you can't even solve for yourself?
And just look at what he tried. I mean, he threw the entire kitchen sink at it. These are the gold standards in therapy: mindfulness, exposure therapy, medication, cognitive restructuring. He tried everything you're supposed to try. And for 20 years, nothing. Absolutely nothing worked.
So, where did the solution come from? Not from some complex, newfangled therapy. No, it was from something almost unbelievably simple. Just repeating phrases like, "May I be safe, may I be peaceful." It was this simple act of offering kindness to himself. That was the one thing he hadn't tried, and it changed everything. 4 months later, his anxiety was just gone. And this is where it all clicked. The huge revelation here wasn't just about finding the right tool. It was about realizing he'd been fighting the wrong enemy the entire time.
And this right here is the absolute key. The anxiety he felt, that was just a symptom. The real root cause was shame. And that discovery shifted his entire perspective. But to really get a handle on the solution, we have to understand the real problem. So what exactly is shame?
At its core, shame is all about our connection to other people. It's that gut-wrenching feeling of being looked down on, of being judged. It's not just feeling bad about something you did, it's the feeling of being bad. It's a direct attack on your very sense of self.
This slide just nails the difference perfectly. Guilt is about your actions. I did something bad. But shame is about your identity. I am bad. That one little word change from did to am is everything. Guilt can actually be productive. It can push us to apologize or fix things. Shame, on the other hand, just makes you want to hide.
And listen, we're not just talking about big, life-altering events here. Shame pops up all the time in these small, everyday moments of self-criticism. That little voice in your head that attacks your character because you overslept? Yep, that's shame.
Okay, so if shame is the poison, then what's the antidote? This is where the story pivots to the solution, a powerful framework called self-compassion.
The idea is just so beautifully simple. Just think about it. How would you talk to a good friend who was struggling or who made a mistake? You'd probably be warm, supportive, understanding, right? Well, self-compassion is just about turning that same exact kindness inward, toward yourself.
The researcher Dr. Kristen Neff breaks this down into 3 core parts. First up is mindfulness. You have to actually notice that you're suffering without getting totally swept away by it. Second, there's common humanity. This is about remembering that you are not alone. Suffering is just part of being human. And third, self-kindness, which is actively being warm and gentle with yourself instead of cold and critical. Okay, now this slide right here, this is basically the whole explainer in one chart. Just look at how perfectly each piece of self-compassion directly counters a feature of shame. When you're lost in your own head, mindfulness pulls you out. When you feel totally isolated, common humanity reminds you you're not. And when that harsh inner critic starts yelling, self-kindness is what quiets it down. It's a perfect system.
But to really, truly disarm shame, we have to see it for what it is. We have to pull back the curtain and look at its illusions. And there are 3 powerful paradoxes that, once you see them, completely change the game.
And this is the perfect analogy for it. Shame feels like this huge, terrifying, all-powerful wizard. But when you finally get the courage to look behind the curtain, you see it's not so scary after all.
All right, let's look at the first paradox.
So shame feels like it's proof that you're fundamentally flawed, right? But the paradox is that its energy actually comes from something incredibly pure: the universal, human wish to be loved and to belong. The only reason you feel shame is because you care so much about connecting with others. And that desire, at its core, is completely innocent.
Now for the second one. This one is so powerful. The very feeling that makes you think, I'm the only one, no one else feels this broken, is actually one of the most universal emotions we have. Literally everyone on this planet knows what shame feels like. And in that shared experience, we're not alone at all. We're actually connected.
And finally, the third, and maybe the most freeing, paradox.
Shame loves to convince you that this is who I am now. It feels like a permanent stain on you. But it's not. It's a temporary state. It's a feeling, a cloud passing through the sky of your awareness. It is not the sky itself. It is not who you are.
Okay, so knowing all of this is great in theory, but what do you actually do in the heat of the moment? Let's break down a simple, practical tool you can use anytime that wave of shame starts to crash over you.
It's called the self-compassion break, and it's a 3-step pause that brings together everything we've talked about. First, mindfulness. Just acknowledge the feeling. You can even say to yourself, okay, this is a moment of shame. Second, common humanity. Remind yourself this is a normal part of being human. Other people feel this way too. And third, self-kindness. Physically offer yourself a gesture of comfort, like placing a hand over your heart, and just say something kind to yourself. It's an immediate circuit break.
And that brings us to our final thought. Shame gets all its power from making us feel flawed and unlovable. But what if we started from a different place? What if we truly operated from the knowledge that deep down, every single person we meet is driven by that same innocent, universal wish to be loved? Just think about that. How might that change everything?